Hey everybody, welcome to Shooting the with Yankee. As always, I'm Yankee, so let's start shooting. Today's topic is one of historic importance, because what I want to know is, what do you think is the most historically significant handgun? Now, this can be historically significant, culturally significant, because what is your culture other than your history? So let me know what you think is the most historically significant handgun in our history, be it American history, European history, human history. You decide where you want to narrow it down to. But I'll start us off here, and I'm going to say that I think the most culturally significant, historically significant handgun in at least our country is, and this was hard because there's a lot of guns out there. I'm like, do I go with the first mass-produced gun? Do I go with, the first gun that used cartridges instead of, cap and ball? What do we do? What do I go with? What do I think had the most significance? And I decided I'm going to go with one of the earlier cartridge revolvers. In fact, it's right up there in the list of the first ones, and it's the Colt Single Action Army. Or as you know, was it the 1872, I think is the actual calling of it, or the Peacemaker. You can call it whichever you want. But that gun is very historically significant because it is one of the first revolvers that uses a cartridge. It has a top strap, so it's not a break top revolver, therefore it can use more powerful loads. It's the gun that won the West. That's what most people think of when they see a Colt Single Action Army type gun. They think of that's the gun that paved the way to the West Coast from the East Coast. It won the West. So that's what I'm going with. And plus, it's just a really nice gun. It's still relevant today. How many guns do you know of from back then that are still around today and are relatively unchanged? You might have another safety added now, a transfer bar or something like that, firing pin changed to internal, but otherwise very similar to the way they were when they were out there strapped on to the cowboys, even though that's kind of a misnomer historically that it was a cowboy gun. But like I said, very significant in the history of our country, very significant in the history of firearms, on how they were mass produced, and they were cartridge guns, they were revolvers, they had top strap, all that stuff. So like I said, it's the Colt Single Action Army. Now let's go see what people weighing in here said. See if anybody agrees with me or has other choices here. We got Practical Bacon weighing in first. He says, of course, it's the 1911. And, that's a very good choice. 1911s, really nice semi-automatic handgun, helped win the war. That's a very GI associated gun. So it has that cultural significance of the World War II. So very good choice. Dale Rickety chimed in and said, Luger if you are German, 1911 if you are American. That makes sense too. The Luger is very important to the German people, Europeans in general. So Lugers are very, very, in fact, the two historic guns I own are a Luger and a Colt Single Action Army. Those are the two old antique, culturally significant guns I own. So the first two choices are guns I also own a 1911. So, first two choices there I own. Dale Rickety, maybe the M1 Garand. That's a rifle. Dale, don't get confused. He's getting worked up. He did two in a row and he's getting worked up. His nurse is probably having to calm him down. His Filipino nurse, who's probably stealing from him. Mikey D chimed in and said, 1911 45 ACP won 2 world wars, still going. Exactly. Still around today. And not a whole lot's changed. Now, we've gotten more into, this one is really precise and really tight and so well fit. And, you can't even, where you can measure the fit in micrometers, super, super well fit guns whereas back in the day, they were rattle traps because they were meant to be reliable, and they didn't want them to jam. So you didn't have that, tight fit tolerances. You stuck them together so they'd work, and you sent them out. But still, other than just refinement and a few little safety changes, Series 70, Series 80, there's not a whole lot of difference. And to be around that long, that's pretty good. Then we got John Mandrick, and he typed in what does that say? He put it at the beginning. Colt Patterson, the first real revolver. Yeah, the Colt Patterson. That's a really nice gun. I mean, especially if you're into break top guns. I do believe that's cap and ball, isn't it? Isn't it black powder gun? So, yeah, that's a good choice. I mean, Colt's been leading the way in guns for a long, long time. And I think the Colt Patterson, wasn't that one of the first ones they did that was like actually a revolver, where it actually revolved from cylinder to cylinder? You didn't have to reload every time you shot. It's one of the early ones. Ghost Shadow says, number 1, Colt 1911. Number 2, Colt black powder revolver, the mechanism. Are you talking about the break top revolvers? Yeah, those were very significant, I would say. The most culturally significant Fire Goozy saying is the problem solver. I don't know what he means on that one. I'm out of the loop on something there. Pigar weighed in and says, does an Uzi count as a handgun? I don't know. If it has a stock, it's definitely not a handgun. If it doesn't have a stock, I think it would count as a handgun. I think it would, actually. Wouldn't like a automatic handgun, because it's not, it doesn't have like a foregrip or anything on most of them. It's just a little Uzi. Yeah, I think it would count. And it is a culturally significant gun. Most everybody knows. Well, actually, Uzi is one of those things that a lot of people think any little submachine gun. They see it, they go, look at Uzi. Because they don't really know what an Uzi is. It's kind of like a lot of people who look at any polymer gun and go, look at Glock. So it's definitely got a place in history and the zeitgeist of our consciousness because of our culture, because everybody thinks every little tiny submachine gun is an Uzi. King Henry 47 says Colt Walker or Dragoon, both very nice guns. Both also, I believe, they don't have the top strap. They're the break top type of revolver. Also black powder, I do believe both of those, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, very good choice. Very good choice. I thought I would see a lot of the break top Colts in today's. I really wondered if I'd see a lot of the precursors, the Wheelers, etc., the ones that came just a hair before to market. Edgar Cortez said 45 long Colt. Well, that's a caliber. That's not a gun. That's a caliber. So he's got. Someone have to. I hate to do this, but I didn't buzz Dale Rickety earlier because, well, we know he's 107 years old. But you're getting a buzz for that because that's a caliber, not a gun. Mr. Furley said Browning High Power, one of the first Wonder 9s. Good choice there, Browning High Power. I hadn't even crossed my mind, but that is a very culturally significant gun, very historically significant gun. Most people know what it is. Most people have heard it. Most people know the name of the design. How many guns do you know the name of the designer? Because the name's right in it. Well, a lot of them, I guess, but a lot of people know that one. That's for sure. John Mandrick said, historical or cultural? You're confusing us. Well, one, confusing y'all is not that hard. I just got to say, look at your left hand, and most of you. Well, like I said, history and culture kind of go hand in hand. Your culture is basically your history, because that's what culture is. It's the things your people have historically done. Peter D said, it's got to be the Colt Single Action Army. Yes, I agree. That's my choice. I agree with you for that choice. Paved the way for the smokeless powders. Yep, that's another thing. I didn't even mention that. And what we all know and use today. I think that's true. I think the Colt Single Action Army probably had the most influence on everyday revolvers that you use today, up to the newest, the Colt Pythons, the 686s, the 329s, everything that has come in revolvers, Kimber K6S, they probably owe everything they are originally to the Colt Single Action Army. That really started that whole process in a modern vein, where it was a more modernized gun. Richard Wilson says the 1911, all hail John Browning. It's not the Browning 1911. I don't know why the Browning High Power is why people always call the High Power the Browning High Power when we don't call the 1911 the Browning 1911. Especially since most of the high powers people have are probably made by FN or other companies other than Browning. Edgar Cortez said Glock 17, first Glock ever made, 1981. I own one, love it. That's going very modern, but that is a very good choice because, look at all the guns on the market today. What percentage of them kind of followed in the path of Glock? Glock popularized a market. They didn't create the market for polymer guns or striker fired guns. Glock didn't create anything, but they put together a bunch of things that were relatively unsuccessful up till then. And then they put them together in the right combination, marketed them in the right way, and opened up a whole new market that pretty much every gun manufacturer has jumped into, even the ones that shouldn't. You can't be much more historically or culturally significant than that, I don't think. Bohr chart, it set the precedent for all semi-autos. I'm not real sure what that is. I'm going to have to, maybe it's because I've never seen it written and I don't know how to spell it, but I'm going to look it up because I don't. There it is. I actually am familiar with that, but I don't think you spelled it. No, you didn't. You left the D out. It's RDT. But yes, and it's weird looking. I think I featured it on one of my science fiction-y looking guns back in the day. If you're meaning the C93, it's a very weird looking gun. And it's one of them German guns. Germans had a lot of influence in modern semi-autos. I will say that. Snuffleupagus used his member chat to say, I'm back. I know you missed me. We haven't seen him in a long time, but he's been a member for 23 months. But he didn't weigh in on the topic. He just wanted to let us know he's back. So I guess that ends us today as far as our conversation is concerned. I want to thank everybody who weighed in. I want to thank everyone out there in YouTube land for watching. And I want to know, what do you think is the most historically significant handgun, be it culturally or just plain historically, however you want to interpret it? What do you think the answer is? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you want to weigh in on one of these topics in person, come to our live chats. We do them every day at 6 p.m. except for Wednesdays when they're at 7 p.m. And that subject is scheduled to change soon because Never Enough Ammo, I don't think he's doing his Wednesday chats anymore, which I put mine later to not cork him. So hope to see you at a live chat soon. Let me know in the comment section what you think on this topic, and then come to one of the live chats. Let us know what you think on that topic, and stick around for the open chat that we do immediately afterwards, where you can talk about whatever you want. And like I said, once again, thanks to everyone here that weighed in today. I'll see you again tomorrow. Until then, remember, always carry and stay safe until I see you again.